Taemin opens the door with his key. He inserts it into the keyhole with one precise movement. The door is heavy and silent. It slides open. He goes inside, places the keys on the console. A single envelope lies nearby. It's smooth and clean. There's nothing else on the wooden surface. Taemin takes off his coat. It's dark, expensive. He hangs it in the closet. The closet is large, almost empty. Two more identical coats hang there. Several suits lie nearby. All are equally spaced. He walks deeper into the apartment. The floors gleam. They are made of dark wood. A single thin rug lies on them. It doesn't creak underfoot. It just rustles quietly. The apartment smells clean. Clean and nothing else. It doesn't smell like food. It doesn't smell like life. It smells like furniture polish. The living room is huge. There's a large sofa in it. It's black, leather. In front of it is a low table. On the table lies a single book. It's a thick tome on economics. It lies exactly in the center of the table. There's not a speck of dust or stain anywhere near it. Taemin goes to the window. Windows line the entire wall. Beyond them is the city. Millions of lights. They flicker somewhere far below. Up here, it's quiet. The sounds of the city don't reach here. He stands and looks at these lights. His face is expressionless. It's calm. He owns this view. He owns this silence. He turns away from the window. His footsteps echo hollowly in the empty space. He walks into the kitchen. It gleams with steel and glass. All the appliances are lined up. Not a single cup sits on the countertop. He opens the refrigerator. It's almost empty. Inside are several bottles of water, lined up in a row. There's a package of fresh tofu, a bag of rice. Everything is simple, functional. Taemin takes a bottle of water. He closes the refrigerator. He unscrews the lid. He drinks straight from the bottle. His throat moves evenly. He sets the bottle on the table. Then he takes a napkin. He wipes the spot where the bottle stood. There wasn't a drop of water, but he wipes it anyway. He stands alone in the middle of his kitchen. The refrigerator hums quietly. No other sounds. He's used to this silence. It envelops him. It protects him. In this silence, there are no surprises. No stupid questions. No unnecessary emotions. He returns to the living room. He sits down on the sofa. The sofa doesn't sag. It's hard. Taemin turns on the TV. The news appears on the screen. The announcer speaks in a quiet, even voice about exchange rates, about politics. Taemin watches, but doesn't listen. He simply watches the announcer's lips move. This replaces live communication for him. It's safe. His gaze falls on the door to the hallway. Behind that door is his daughter's room. Miyun. She's 5 years old. She should be asleep by now. Her nanny, Leilani, makes sure of that. The nanny put her to bed and left. Leilani has her own schedule. She doesn't live here. She comes in the morning and leaves in the evening. It's right. It's easier. Taemin turns off the TV. Silence falls over him again. He sits in the darkness. Only the light of the city filters through the windows. It draws long stripes on the floor. They fall onto the perfectly clean parquet. He thinks about tomorrow, about meetings, about calls, about decisions that need to be made. His thoughts are clear, cold. They follow well-worn paths. Nothing throws him off track. This is how it should be. Order, control, silence. He gets up from the couch. He goes to check the lock on the front door. The lock clicks. Everything is secure. He checks it twice. Then he goes to his bedroom. The bedroom is just as large and empty. A large bed. Nothing extra. He's getting ready for bed. Every movement is precise. His toothbrush stands perfectly vertical in the glass. The towel hangs straight. He looks at his face in the mirror. The face of a man who is in charge, who doesn't let anyone get too close, who has everything under control. He lies down on the bed, turns off the light. Darkness and silence merge. He closes his eyes. Tomorrow will be the same day, just as controlled, just as quiet. He's almost asleep. And then, from somewhere deep inside the apartment, a soft sound comes. It's a creak, just the creak of wood. The old house is breathing. Taemin opens his eyes. He listens. Nothing else. Just this lonely creak, then silence again. Absolute. He closes his eyes again. He's not afraid of silence. He created it. The next morning, Taemin wakes up promptly at 6. No alarm. His eyes open, and he gets up immediately. The morning routine is repeated in reverse order. Shower, dressing. Everything takes 35 minutes. The nanny is supposed to arrive at 7 o'clock. Leilani James. She's been working for him for 3 days now. 3 days is a trial period. Today, he'll make his final decision. Taemin sits at the kitchen table. A cup of black coffee lies in front of him. He doesn't drink it. He waits. His gaze is fixed. At 7 o'clock, the doorbell rings quietly, but firmly. Not twice. Not three. One clear, short beep. Tamin goes to open it. She stands behind the door. Leilani. She's 27. She's dressed in simple dark trousers and a light blouse. Nothing out of the ordinary. Her hair is neatly pulled back. There's no bright makeup on her face. Just a touch of foundation, maybe. She's holding a small bag. Not a handbag, but a practical shoulder bag. "Good morning, Mr. Choi," she says. Her voice is calm. Not loud. Not high and not low. Just even. Taemin nods. He steps back, letting her in. "Miyun is still asleep," he says. It's not a question. It's a statement of fact. "I know. I'll come by in 15 minutes to wake her gently," Leilani replies. She already knows the schedule. Taemin watches her take off her shoes. She places them neatly on the shoe rack. She puts on the slippers lying nearby. They are beige, a neutral color. She didn't bring her own. She uses the ones assigned to her. He remembers the first time she showed up here. In his office. The agency sent her. She had the best recommendations. But everyone has recommendations. Taemin put her through a test. More than once. The first test was punctuality. She arrived exactly on time. Not 5 minutes early. Not 5 minutes late. Exactly. The second test was for attentiveness. He deliberately placed a children's book on the table in the living room. An old, tattered one. His daughter's book. The first nanny didn't notice it. The second noticed it, but put it away in the closet. Leilani noticed the book, carefully placed it on the shelf in the nursery. On the most visible shelf. Not in the closet. On the shelf. The third test was for reaction. Taemin, in front of her, sharply raised his voice at one of his assistants. He did it on purpose. To see fear. The first candidates were frightened. They looked away. Leilani didn't look away. She continued to look calmly at him. Her face remained neutral. There was no fear. No judgment. There was understanding. Understanding that this was none of her business. She answered all his questions. Clearly. To the point. About her education. About her experience working with children. She had a teaching diploma. She worked for 3 years in a good private kindergarten. She left because she wanted to work independently. Taemin asked her why she thought she could cope here. He hinted that the atmosphere in the house was peculiar, that his daughter was unsociable. Leilani looked at him directly. "Children sense falsehood, Mr. Choi. They don't always say it, but they feel it. I won't pretend. I'll do my job. Care, teach, protect. Without unnecessary emotion, if that's what you require, but without coldness either. A child needs human warmth. At least the semblance of it." That phrase decided everything. The appearance of warmth. It was brilliant. It was exactly what he wanted. Not real warmth, not sentimentality, but professional, high-quality appearance. Something you could pay for. Something you could control. He gave her a 3-day trial period. And now those 3 days are coming to an end. She came 3 times in total. She didn't try to talk to him about anything except his daughter. She didn't interfere in his affairs. She didn't poke her nose into anyone else's room. He watches her walk into the kitchen. She opens the refrigerator. She studies the contents. She doesn't slam the door. She closes it quietly. "I'll make Mune breakfast. Oatmeal with banana, as we agreed. She has her first lesson at 9 o'clock. Sculpting. I've got everything ready," she says without turning around. She already knows where everything is. Taemin nods silently. Even though she can't see him, she's better than others. Much better. She's not perfect. No one is perfect. But she's as close as he can get to what he needs. He stands up, walks closer to her. "Leilani," he says. She turns around, looks at him, waits. "Your probation is over. You're a good fit. You can stay permanently." There's no wide smile of relief on her face. She simply nods slightly. "Thank you for your trust, Mr. Choi. I'll do my best to live up to it." "I'm confident," he says. And he almost believes it. He takes his briefcase. He leaves. He has business. The world awaits his decisions. He leaves his home, his daughter, in the arms of this woman, an African-American woman, with a calm gaze and a teaching diploma. As he walks to the elevator, he feels a strange relief. For the first time in a long time, he doesn't look back at his apartment door with doubt. Today, he made the right choice. He's almost certain of it. That evening, Taemin returns home. He arrives late. The city outside is already ablaze with lights. The light in the hallway is on. It was left there for him. He hears quiet voices from the living room. A child's laughter. Then Leilani's even, soothing voice. He makes out the words, "And then the bunny found his mother." A fairy tale. Taemin doesn't go into the living room. He goes into his office. He places his briefcase on the table. He takes off his jacket. He sits in the chair. He sits in the darkness for a few minutes. Then he turns on the desk lamp. The light falls only on the table. Everything else is drowned in darkness. He waits. 10 minutes later, there's a quiet knock on the door. "Come in," he says. Leilani enters. She looks fresh despite the late hour. She's still wearing the same dark trousers, but her blouse is a different color now, light gray. "Miyun fell asleep, Mr. Choi," she announces. She stands by the door, not coming any closer. "Okay, sit down," he says, gesturing to a chair opposite the table. Leilani sits carefully on the edge of the chair. She keeps her back straight. Her hands are folded in her lap. "I want to discuss the terms of your employment. Permanent terms," Taman begins. His voice is businesslike, toneless. He opens the top drawer of his desk. He takes out a piece of paper. It's not a contract. It's a list. He places the paper in front of him. "Your responsibility is the full care and supervision of my daughter, Choi. Miyun, from 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening, 5 days a week. Saturday and Sunday are my days off. If I'm busy on weekends, you'll be paid overtime at double the rate. Is that clear?" "Yes, Mr. Choi." "You provide her meals, activities, and walks. I will provide a separate list of permitted foods and activities. You are not allowed to change her diet or schedule without my consent." "Understood." "You accompany her to all extracurricular activities. You wait for her in the hall. You do not interact with other parents or nannies more than is polite. You do not discuss our family, under any circumstances." Leilani nods silently. Taman pauses. He looks at her. She holds his gaze. "The most important rule," he says, quieter but more clearly. "You care for the child. You ensure her safety and development, but you do not become close to her. You are an employee. You provide a professional service. Your job is to create a comfortable and stimulating environment. Nothing more." He sees her eyes shift slightly. Not a challenge. No, more like a question. But she doesn't ask it. "Miyun is an impressionable child. She gets attached easily. That can't be allowed. Your role is that of an experienced guide, not a friend, not a surrogate parent. Is that clear?" "Quite clear, Mr. Choi," she finally answers. Her voice remains level. "You will report to me every evening, briefly, to the point. What you ate, how you slept, what you did. Any successes or problems. No personal comments. No emotional overtones." "Good. There are areas in this house you are not allowed to enter. My office, my bedroom, the guest rooms on the second floor. You are responsible for the common areas and Miyun's room." "I have it all memorized." Taman pushes the piece of paper away. He's done his job. He's set boundaries. Clear, precise, unquestionable. "Do you have any questions for me?" he asks. He's almost certain he doesn't. Leilani thinks for a moment. "I have one question, Mr. Choi." "Yes?" If she's sad, if she seeks emotional connection, how should I respond? Within the established rules." The question catches him off guard. He hadn't expected such specifics. He'd expected questions about salary, sick leave, vacation. "You're distracting her with an activity, a game, a new task. Children switch quickly," he says, his voice a little off-key. Leilani looks at him. Her gaze seems too penetrating at this moment. "I understand," she says simply. "Thank you for clarifying." She stands up. "Good night, Mr. Choi." "Good night, Leilani." She leaves the office. She closes the door so quietly that there's no click. Tamin is left alone. He looks at the closed door, then at the sheet of paper with the rules. Everything is written down. Everything is under control. He feels satisfaction. Now everything will be as he planned. Perfect order. No surprises. No unnecessary feelings. He doesn't know that Leilani's question wasn't a worker's question. It was the first, almost invisible probe. The first attempt to understand the boundaries, not of the rules, but of the person who set them. But Taemin doesn't see this. He only sees that the rules have been accepted. And that's the main thing. A week passes. The new regime is taking hold. Taemin barely sees Leilani. He leaves early in the morning, when Miyun is just finishing breakfast. He returns late in the evening, when Miyun is already asleep. He sees only the results of his work. His daughter's tidy room, neatly arranged toys, a report on his phone. The reports are impeccable. 8 a.m. Wake up. 8:30 a.m. Breakfast. Oatmeal. Apple. 9 to 10 a.m. Educational games. Lains. Oz puzzles. 10:30 a.m. Banyan. Walk in the park. 12 p.m. Lunch. Soup. Steamed fish. Vegetables. And so on. Not a single unnecessary word. But one Wednesday, Taemin's important meeting falls through. The client suddenly leaves town. Taemin decides to return home early. By early, he means 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He enters the apartment. Silence. But not the absolute evening silence. This is daytime silence. It's different. It echoes recent life. He hears the ticking of the wall clock in the living room. He hears the hum of a dishwasher somewhere. He goes into the kitchen to pour water and freezes in the doorway. Leilani and Miyun are sitting at the large kitchen table. 2 plates stand in front of them. On the plates are pancakes. Not perfect, round pancakes, but slightly misshapen. One is even burnt on the edge. Miyun sits with her head buried in her plate. She's concentrating on spreading something on a pancake. Next to her is a jar of something dark. It's chocolate spread. Taemin never bought it. That means Leilani brought it with her. But it's not the pasta, it's his daughter's face. There's an expression on it. An expression of concentrated, happy involvement. She's carefully spreading the chocolate with the tip of a knife. Her tongue is slightly stuck out in effort. Leilani sits across from me. She's not eating. She's looking at Miyun. And on her face, there's no professional, detached smile. Her face is calm, warm. It simply observes, without tension, without the thought of doing anything. Taemin stands and watches. He doesn't know what to feel. This is breaking the rules. Pancakes are not part of the approved diet. Chocolate spread, even less so. This is unnecessary emotion. This is creating a moment. And at that moment, Miyun looks up. She sees her father. Her eyes widen. Usually, when she sees him, her face becomes serious, wary. She freezes, like a small animal sensing danger. But now everything is different. Traces of chocolate remain on her lips. And she smiles. Not widely, not laughing. She just smiles at him and says in her thin voice, "Daddy, we're making pancakes with chocolate. Leilani taught us." Taemin doesn't move. He stares at that smile. He can't remember the last time he saw it. He can't remember her simply smiling at him because she was happy to see him, because she had something to share with him. Leilani turns around. Her face changes instantly. The warmth is gone. A collected, slightly wary expression of an employee caught in an unauthorized act takes its place. She stands quickly. "Mr. Choi, Miyun, really we wanted to try it. It was our culinary experiment. Everything within reason. Whole wheat pancakes, high cocoa spread, no palm oil." She speaks quickly, but doesn't apologize. She simply informs. Taemin is silent. He looks at his daughter. Miyun is still looking at him, and the smile slowly fades from her face. Her eyes begin to question. Is he angry? "Daddy, do you want to try some?" she asks quietly. She cuts off a piece of her pancake, holds it on her fork, pulls it toward him. Taemin steps forward. He doesn't pick up his fork. He just looks at the piece, at the chocolate stain around it. He feels something inside him tighten, something cold and hard. Rules exist for a reason. They're a wall that protects him from chaos, from feelings, from pain. "Clean that up," he says quietly. He doesn't yell. He just speaks. His voice is icy, even to himself. Miyun lowers her fork. Her lower lip trembles slightly. "Leilani, clean all of that up and return the kitchen to its original state," he says, now addressing the nanny. He doesn't look at her. He looks out the window. "Right now. And please stick to the approved list from now on." "Of course, Mr. Choi." He hears her voice evenly. He turns and leaves, goes into his office, closes the door. He stands in the middle of the room and breathes, deeply, evenly. He needs to regain control over the situation, over himself. He can't hear what's going on in the kitchen, but he knows. He knows that Leilani cleans up quickly and efficiently, that she washes the dishes, wipes the counter, that she speaks to Miyun in a quiet, calm voice, not justifying him, not scolding him, simply putting it all down to practical use. "Let's clean up, honey. Everything's fine." An hour later, when Taemin emerges from the office, the kitchen sparkles with pristine cleanliness. Nothing reminds him of the pancakes, the smile, or the fork extended toward him with a piece of chocolate pancake. But something has changed. He can't explain it. He just knows. He knows he saw something real, and he turned away from it, because the real is dangerous. It can destroy all his walls, all his perfect walls, built with such effort. He goes to his bedroom, and for the first time in a long time, he doesn't want to turn on the TV. He just wants to sit in silence. But silence feels different now. It doesn't protect. It simply acknowledges the fact of his loneliness and the loneliness of his daughter in the next room. A few more days pass. Taemin waits for the consequences. He waits for Leilani to become more cautious, colder, or conversely, to try to explain herself, to talk. But nothing happens. She arrives every morning at 7 sharp. She does everything just as flawlessly. Her reports are just as dry and precise. No hint of pancakes, chocolate, or any violation of the rules. She acts as if the incident never happened, and gradually Taemin calms down. The incident was an accident, a weakness. He made a suggestion. She understood. Order is restored. He almost believes it. He begins to notice details, the way she fits into his life. She leaves no trace behind. Not a forgotten hairpin, not a cup on the table. Her bag always sits on the same stool in the hallway. When she leaves, the stool is empty. She knows his schedule. If he's running late, she doesn't call with questions. She just leaves the light on in the hallway and dinner in the oven. A simple, healthy dinner. Fish with vegetables, buckwheat with mushrooms, nothing extra, nothing that might irritate. She communicates with him only on business. Briefly, clearly. Miyun has a morning drawing class tomorrow. She needs to be there by 9. I'll take her out 15 minutes early. Or, she was a little cold on our walk today. Should she wear a warmer jacket tomorrow? She doesn't try to talk about anything else. She doesn't ask how his day was. She doesn't comment on the weather. She's the perfect tool. Functional, quiet, predictable. Taemin begins to trust her, not as a person, but as a machine. The machine works flawlessly. His daughter looks well-groomed. She's dressed in clean, neat clothes. Her hair is braided in simple but pretty pigtails. She completes assignments. She's developing. He checks. Discreetly. Watches the footage from the hallway camera. Leilani always arrives and leaves on time. No outside guests. No long phone conversations during work hours. Everything is according to the rules. One evening, he enters Miyun's room after Leilani has left. His daughter is already asleep. He stands and looks at her. She sleeps peacefully. Her face is relaxed. Before, she often tossed and turned, twitching in her sleep. Not anymore. His gaze glides around the room. All the toys are put away, but not in drawers, but arranged on shelves, so they can be seen. The books stand in a neat row. A sketchbook and paints lie on the table. The brushes are washed and dried. Everything speaks of attentive, professional care, without fuss, without obtrusiveness. Taemin leaves the room. He feels a strange satisfaction. He was right. He found the right person. Someone who doesn't cause problems. Someone who maintains the order he's established. Someone who doesn't try to change it. He goes into the kitchen to get a drink of water. Then his gaze falls on the refrigerator. There's usually nothing on the refrigerator door. It's completely clean and white. But now there's something there. A small piece of paper. It's attached with a child's apple-shaped magnet. The magnet wasn't there before either. Taemin comes closer. On the sheet of paper is a child's drawing. It depicts a green hill. On the hill are 3 figures. One is large and black. Another is smaller, with a spot on its dress. And the third is the smallest, with large eyes. All the figures are holding hands. The sun in the corner smiles a jagged smile. At the bottom is a signature, written in uncertain block letters. M-I-U-N. Taemin stares at the drawing for a long time. He doesn't touch it. He just looks. Then his gaze shifts to the magnet. An apple. Simple, wooden, painted red. Leilani's work. She didn't leave the drawing out there by accident. She hung it on purpose. On the fridge. Like they do in normal families. She brings an element of normality. The very normality he's been running from his whole life. He should take it off. Throw it away. Tell Leilani not to do it again. It's a violation of aesthetics. A violation of order. But he doesn't take it off. He stands and looks at these 3 crooked figures holding hands. At the large black spot that should be him, the adult. At the small spot with eyes. That's Miyun. And who's the middle figure? Leilani. He doesn't know. He turns away from the refrigerator. He pours himself some water. He drinks. When he turns back, the drawing is still there. It shines against the white background. A bright spot of childish innocence. Taemin doesn't put it away. Not this evening. He leaves it hanging. As a challenge to himself. As a small, almost invisible crack in his perfect constructed world. A crack through which something warm, alive, and completely uncontrollable begins to leak. One evening, Taemin stays in his office longer than usual. He's sorting through paperwork. Things are going well, but they require his attention. He hears the sounds in the apartment fade. This means Leilani is getting Miyun ready for bed. A narrow strip of yellow light shines from under Miyun's door. Taemin heads toward his bedroom, but he stops along the way. He hears a voice, quiet, melodic. It's Leilani. He can't make out the words, but he hears a tune. Slow, smooth, lulling. It's a lullaby. She's singing a lullaby to his daughter. Taemin freezes. He doesn't move. He just listens. Her voice is quiet, but clear. There's no tension in it. No artificiality. She sings as if she does this every day. as if it's the most ordinary thing in the world. The melody is simple, repetitive. It flows like a slow river. Taemin leans against the wall. He closes his eyes. He doesn't want to go any further. He just wants to listen. The sound fills the silence of the hallway. It penetrates somewhere deep inside. He doesn't know how long this lasts. A minute, or 5. The song fades. The last note dissolves into the air. Then he hears Leilani's soft whisper, "Good night, sunshine." The creaking of the bed. Footsteps. The light under the door goes out. Taemin stands in the darkness. He opens his eyes. The hallway is empty and silent again, but the echo of that melody still seems to hang in the air. It seems to envelop him. He feels a strange weakness in his knees. He quickly walks to his bedroom, closes the door, leans his back against it. He breathes quickly. That same melody plays in his head. He can't get it out. Taemin lies down in bed, but sleep doesn't come. He lies in the darkness and stares at the ceiling, and the melody plays in my head again. The melody of a lullaby. But now fragments begin to join it. Fragments of something very old. Something clicks in the depths of my memory. An image appears before his mind's eye. Fuzzy, blurry. A large room. Not like this one. Smaller. Old furniture. And light. The warm yellow light of a table lamp. And the voice. Another voice. Female. Quiet and gentle. It sings the same melody. The same one. But the words are different. The words are in Korean. Taemin inhales sharply. He opens his eyes in the darkness. His heart is pounding somewhere in his throat. It's his mother's voice. She sang this song to him many, many years ago when he was little, when the world wasn't so cruel. When the nights were safe and sleep came easily to the sounds of this song, he hadn't thought about it for years. He buried those memories deep, along with the pain of her departure, along with everything that made him vulnerable. And now this woman, this hired hand, she took it and brought it to life. She sang the same melody to his daughter. How did she recognize her? It's impossible. It's some kind of coincidence. It has to be a coincidence. But in his soul, there is no room for coincidences. Everything has a reason. Everything has a purpose. He tosses and turns in bed. The melody doesn't go away. It plays in rhythm with his heart. And with it comes a feeling, a sharp, aching sense of loss. The loss of the boy he was. The loss of the tenderness with which he was surrounded. The loss of that very song. He's angry. Angry at Leilani for opening up this old wound, for bringing the ghost of the past into his home, the ghost he spent so long and so carefully running from. The next morning, Taemin wakes up with a heavy head. He watches Leilani at breakfast with a new, intense attention. With suspicion, she does everything as usual. She makes porridge for Miyun. She makes coffee for him. Her movements are precise. Her face is calm. Nothing betrays that last night she sang a song that turned his inner world upside down. Taemin waits for her to show off somehow, maybe say something about the song, or look at him differently. But no, she's just a professional doing her job. All day he tries to focus on work, but his thoughts return to that melody, to the image of his mother, to Leilani's face, leaning over his daughter's bed. In the evening, he studies the evening report. He searches for hidden meanings, hints, but there is nothing there. 7 p.m. dinner, 7:30 p.m. quiet games, 8 p.m. getting ready for bed, reading a book, 8:30 p.m. lights out. Not a word about the lullaby. She doesn't even mention it. For her, it's apparently just part of the routine, a detail not worth mentioning. It infuriates him. He can't find any formal complaints against her. She's punctual. She's efficient. She cares for the child. She doesn't disobey direct orders. Even that lullaby, did he forbid singing? No, he forbade unnecessary intimacy. But singing is simply a lullaby technique, a professional skill. He can't fire her for singing a lullaby. It would be absurd. It would show his weakness, his emotionality. That can't be allowed. But her perfection now irritates him. Before, it calmed him. Now it gets on his nerves. Because behind that perfection lies something else. Something warm, alive, that penetrates all his barriers. And he can't resist it. He can't find fault. A few days later, Taemin comes home at his usual time. Miyun is still awake. She's sitting with Leilani on the living room carpet. Colorful beads and fishing line are laid out in front of them. Seeing her father, Miyun jumps up. Her face lights up. She runs toward him, clutching something in her fist. "Daddy! Daddy! Look!" She opens her hand. A bracelet lies on it. A simple bracelet made of large, hand-painted wooden beads. The beads are blue, yellow, and green. They are strung on a sturdy thread. The ends of the bracelet are tied in a knot. "Leilani and I made this. For you," Miyun says, beaming with pride. Taemin looks at the bracelet. Then he glances at Leilani. She's sitting on the floor, calmly collecting the remaining beads in a box. She doesn't look at him, but he sees a slight smile at the corners of her lips. A smile of satisfaction. It's a gift, Dad. Put it on. Miyun pulls his hand, trying to put the bracelet on his wrist. Taemin's hand hangs in the air. He looks at this childish craft, at these crookedly painted beads. It's a symbol of everything that happens without his knowledge, a symbol of rapprochement, a symbol of how they, Leilani and Miyun, have become a team, and he is an outsider, someone who is given gifts to include him in their small world. He feels a cold wave rise inside him. Taemin gently but firmly pushes his daughter's hand away. No, Miyun, he says. His voice is flat, emotionless. The girl freezes. The smile slowly fades from her face. But this is for you, she whispers. I understand, but I don't need this. This is unnecessary. He turns to Leilani. She's already stood up, holding a box of beads. Leilani, please put this away. All these crafts. And do not encourage such gestures in the future. A child should not give gifts to an employee, and an employee should not encourage the creation of gifts for me. This violates professional boundaries. He speaks coldly, clearly. He sees Leilani's eyes darken, but her face remains unreadable. She simply nods. Understood. Sorry. She bends down to take the bracelet from Miyun's hands, but the girl clenches her fist. No! She cries. It's not a scream. It's a quiet, pained protest. Miyun, please give it back, Leilani says softly, but the girl doesn't. She clutches the bracelet so tightly that her knuckles turn white. She looks at her father. There's an unshed tear in her eyes. Resentment, misunderstanding. Why? Is the only word she can squeeze out. Taemin sees that tear. He sees her lower lip trembling. His own heart tightens, but he can't back down. He can't show weakness. If he backs down now, the wall will crumble. His entire system will crumble. Because I said so, he says. His voice sounds alien even to himself, hard as stone. This phrase becomes the last straw. A tear escapes Miyun's eye and rolls down her cheek, then another. She doesn't sob. She just cries quietly, hopelessly. She unclenches her fingers. The bracelet falls to the floor with a dull thud. Leilani quickly picks it up. She places the bracelet in the box. Then she leans toward Miyun. She doesn't hug her in front of him. She simply places her hand on her shoulder. She speaks quietly, right into her ear. It's okay, honey. Everything's fine. Come on, let's wash your face. Leilani looks up and looks directly at Taemin, just for a second. But there's no longer the same neutrality in that gaze. No submission. There's reproach in it. A clear, silent, yet deafening reproach. It asks, why? Why are you doing this? Then she looks away. She takes Miyun's hand. She leads her out of the living room and into the bathroom. Taemin is left alone. He looks at the empty spot on the carpet where his crying daughter had just sat. He hears the soft sound of running water from behind the door. He hears muffled sobs. He looks up at the box of beads Leilani left on the table. He approaches it, opens it. On top lies the same bracelet. He takes it in his hands. The beads are warm from a child's palm. He squeezes them. The wood springs slightly. He wants to throw this box at the wall. Destroy all these stupid, bright, living things. But he doesn't. He just closes the box, puts it back on the table. His hand is shaking. Several days pass. The atmosphere in the house changes. It becomes tense. Miyun barely speaks to her father. She obeys his demands silently. She goes to bed without asking for reading material. She eats without looking up from her plate. Leilani behaves flawlessly, even more flawlessly than before. She is almost invisible. She does her job with surgical precision. She no longer sings lullabies, at least not when he can hear her. And that's what irritates Taemin the most now, her calm, her ability to remain composed even after that incident, her inner warmth, which he feels even when she simply sits silently next to Miyun, drawing. This warmth seems to burn his cold skin. It reminds him of what he doesn't have, what he deprived himself of. He finds himself searching for flaws in her. He nitpicks. Why was our walk 5 minutes shorter today? Or, this sweater doesn't quite match these pants. She calmly explains, it started raining, so we came back early. Or, Miyun chose this outfit herself. I supported her independence. She has a sensible, professional answer to everything. She doesn't snap. She doesn't make excuses. She simply informs. And this only makes him more irritated. He wants to unsettle her, to see some emotion in her. Anger, fear, anything. but there's only that damned calm and warmth, all-pervading, ineradicable warmth. Taemin decides to tighten his grip. He doesn't trust her. He doesn't trust the quiet, cozy atmosphere she's created. He needs to check everything himself. He hires a private investigator. He gives her the task to check out Leilani James, her past, her connections, her finances, everything. He expects dirty laundry, expects some debts, problematic relatives, dark spots in her biography. A week later, the report arrives. Taemin studies it in his office. He flips through the pages and finds nothing. Her parents are retired teachers. Clean credit history. She has worked in good places. Colleagues describe her as a professional and a kind person. No connections to shady characters. No bad habits. She goes to the library, sometimes to the movies with a friend. That's all. The report brings no relief. It brings even more irritation. So she really is like this. So calm, pure, kind. Imperfect, but real. And this realness of hers now seems dangerous to him, because she is real in a world where he is accustomed to falsehood, to masks, to calculation. He tightens internal controls. He checks security footage more often. He reviews receipts from the stores she goes to with Myun. Everything is in order. Fruits, vegetables, children's clothes, books. No unnecessary spending. No strange purchases. He feels stuck. The enemy he's trying to neutralize turns out to be no enemy. He turns out to be just a good person. And it's unbearable. Taemin's latest deal falls through at the last minute. His partner hesitates. The meeting is rescheduled. Taemin has the evening free. He decides to go home. Unexpectedly early, he enters the apartment. The light is on in the hallway. Sounds come from the kitchen. Not voices. Music. Quiet, rhythmic music. Something jazzy on a saxophone. Taemin freezes. Then he walks silently toward the kitchen. He stops at the door. The overhead light in the kitchen is out. Only the fairy lights, which he hadn't noticed before, are on. They wrap around the window, flickering with a warm yellow light. In the middle of the kitchen, in the empty space between the table and the island, two figures are dancing, Leilani and Myun. Leilani holds her daughter's hands. Myun stands barefoot in her shoes. They twirl slowly. Leilani hums along to the music. She smiles. Her face is relaxed, happy. She's not a professional nanny at this moment. She's just a woman dancing with a child. Myun laughs, loudly, carefreely. She wraps her arms around Leilani's waist and presses herself against her. She trusts her completely. She's completely happy in that moment. Taemin doesn't move. He just watches. This image hits him with new force. This isn't a lullaby in the dark. This isn't a craft. This is life itself, a living, warm, pulsating moment of joy. In his home, in his cold, sterile fortress. And he has nothing to do with this moment. He's an observer, an outsider. The music plays. They circle again. And Leilani looks up. Her gaze falls on the door. On him. It all happens in an instant. Her smile freezes. Then it disappears completely. Her body tenses. She stops. The music continues, but the dance is over. Myun, not understanding, turns to where Leilani is looking. She sees her father, and her face changes too. First fear, then guilty wariness. She quickly jumps off Leilani's feet. She stands on the floor, fiddling with the hem of her blouse. Leilani steps forward, seemingly involuntarily shielding Myun with her body. It's an instinctive protective gesture. It doesn't escape Taemin. She's protecting his daughter. From him. Myun says quietly. Taemin doesn't answer. He looks at Leilani. His face is a stone mask. Inside, everything is boiling. Anger, pain, self-pity, fear. Taemin flicks the switch. The fairy lights go out. The bright overhead light comes on. The kitchen becomes sterile and harsh again. The magic dissipates like smoke. Leilani, he says. His voice cuts through the silence. To the living room. Wait for me there. He doesn't raise his voice, but there's steel in his tone. Leilani nods. She doesn't look at Myun. She just walks. She passes him into the hallway. Her steps are quiet. Taemin looks at his daughter. She stands, cowering. Go to your room, Myun, he says, softer, but still not allowing for any argument. But Dad, right now. Myun lowers her head. Slowly, like a prisoner, she trudges out of the kitchen. Tammany is left alone. He approaches the speaker, from which jazz is still playing softly. He abruptly pulls the cord out of the socket. The music stops mid-sentence. Complete silence falls. Only the hum of the refrigerator. Taemin heads to the living room to talk to Leilani, but on the way, he stops at Myun's room. The door is ajar. He peers inside. Myun is sitting on the bed. She's not crying. She's just sitting there, hugging her knees. She's looking out the window. There's a look of unchildlike sadness on her face. Taemin is about to leave when his daughter turns her head. She looks straight at him. Her eyes are large, dark, full of a wisdom he doesn't understand. "Daddy," she says. "Yes? Why don't you ever dance with us?" The question sounds so simple, so sincere. There's no accusation in it, just pure childish curiosity. Why? You're our dad. Why are you always outside? Why don't you come inside our little circle of light and music? Taemin opens his mouth, but he can't find an answer. All his excuses about order, about rules, about work, now seem petty and false. Empty. Before this simple why, he's silent for too long. Miyun knows there won't be an answer. She slowly turns back to the window. Her small back looks so lonely. Taemin doesn't go into the living room to see Leilani. He turns and goes to his office. He closes the door. He sits down at the table. He puts his head in his hands. A storm rages inside him. His daughter's question rings in his ears again and again. Why don't you ever dance with us? Because he doesn't know how. Because he's forgotten what it's like. Because dancing is about spontaneity, about trust, about giving up control. And he can't afford that. Not for a second. He thinks of Leilani, sitting in the living room now, awaiting her reprimand. He thinks of her calm face, of her warm hands that held his daughter, of her voice singing that very song. He feels a burning envy. For her simplicity, for her ability to give warmth without fear of getting burned, for her ability to be happy in a simple moment. And with envy comes rage. Rage at oneself, for one's weakness, for one's inability to do the same, for one's locked in one's own prison of rules and fears. He sits there for so long, until the storm inside him subsides, until it hardens into a cold, firm resolve. He can't stand it anymore. He can't watch from the sidelines as someone else makes his daughter happy, as someone else creates in his home the very life he himself rejected. It's hurting him. It's undermining his authority in his daughter's eyes. It's making him weak. It's disrupting discipline, both his own and the one that should exist in the home. This needs to end. Taemin raises his head. His face is smooth as stone again. His eyes are expressionless. There's ice inside. He makes a decision. The only right one, as it seems to him. Leilani must go, not because she's a bad worker, but because she's too good, too alive, too warm. She breaks the cardinal rule, the rule of emotional distance. She doesn't just care for the child. She changes the atmosphere in the house. She changes his daughter. She changes him. She makes him feel what he doesn't want to feel. She is a threat to his world, his order, his control. She can't be given explanations. Explanations would be weakness. He needs to act quickly, decisively, ruthlessly, as he always does in business. Tomorrow morning, he'll call her into his office. He'll tell her her services are no longer required. No reason, just a statement of fact. He'll compensate her generously, more than she should have, so there won't be any sense of injustice. So she'll leave quietly. And then he'll find another, older, strict, one who will follow instructions and won't sing lullabies, who won't dance in the kitchen, who won't make bracelets, who won't look at him with silent reproach. Everything will return to normal. Silence. Order. Control. Taemin takes a deep breath. The decision brought him a strange, painful relief, like a surgical incision. It hurts, but the pus will be removed. He leaves the office. The living room is empty. Leilani, apparently realizing there would be no conversation, has left. Whether she left for good or simply went to Miyun's room, he doesn't care. He goes into the kitchen. He takes out a bottle of water. He drinks. His gaze falls on the string of lights by the window. He approaches. He rips them off their hooks with one sharp movement. The wires get tangled. The bulbs rattle. He crumples the string of lights in his hands and throws them in the trash can under the sink. Then he turns off the light and goes to his bedroom. Tomorrow he will restore order, once and for all. Taemin wakes at dawn. He hadn't slept well. His sleep was fitful, filled with snatches of melodies and children's laughter, interrupted by sudden silence. He gets up and goes through his morning ritual with redoubled care. Every movement must be perfect. This will cement his decision into reality. The shower hits his body with cold jets. He dresses in a dark, formal suit. He ties his tie himself, looking in the mirror. His reflection is impassive. There is no doubt about this man. He leaves the bedroom. The apartment is filled with pre-dawn silence. He goes to the kitchen. He doesn't turn on the light. He stands by the window and watches the city slowly awaken in gray tones. He waits. At 7 o'clock, the doorbell rings. Accurate, as always. Taemin doesn't move. He waits. He hears Leilani open the door with her own key, her footsteps in the hallway, the soft click of her shoes on the parquet floor. He waits a few minutes. Let her begin her ritual. Let her take off her coat, put on her slippers. Let her feel like today is an ordinary day. Then he walks out of the kitchen, into the hallway. Leilani just passes by, heading toward Miyun's room. She stops when she sees him. Her face, as usual, is calm and collected. There's no anticipation of a storm in it. Leilani, Taemin says. His voice is even, without intonation. Let's go into the office, right now. She blinks slightly. A shadow of surprise flickers in her eyes. Early calls to the office are not part of their routine. Okay, Mr. Choi, she replies after a short pause. No questions. He lets her go ahead and follows her. The office smells of wood, leather, and old books. He leaves the door open. This is important, so that the sounds from the apartment can carry here, so that this doesn't feel like a secret meeting. This is a business meeting. Sit. He points to the chair in front of the desk. She sits down, her back straight. Her hands are folded in her lap. She looks at him, awaiting his instructions for the day. Perhaps she thinks he wants to discuss Miyun's new schedule, or give a special instruction. Taemin sits down opposite him. Between them is a smooth, empty table surface, a barrier. He doesn't waste time on foreplay. He doesn't offer tea. He doesn't ask how things are. It's unnecessary. I've made a decision, he begins. His voice is still even, monotone. Your services in caring for my daughter are no longer required. He pronounces this phrase clearly, separating the words, as if he were reading a clause from a contract, as if announcing a change of supplier. Silence falls in the office. The clock on the wall ticks. Somewhere in the distance, from Miyun's room, the soft sound of baby music on the baby monitor drifts. Leilani says nothing. She just looks at him. Taemin sees her face change, but not in the way he, perhaps subconsciously, expected. No anger appears on it. No resentment. At first, just misunderstanding. Complete, absolute. Her eyebrows furrow slightly. Her eyes, usually so clear and calm, become puzzled. She looks at him, as if he's suddenly spoken a foreign language. She opens her mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. She looks at him again, searching his face for some clue, some hint of regret, some hint of reason. But his face is a stony mask. The shock gradually gives way to something else. Realization. She realizes this isn't a joke. This isn't a test. This is reality. She's being fired, now, without warning. I don't understand, she finally says. Her voice is quiet, slightly choked. Did something happen? Did I do something wrong? Miyun, is she okay? She asked questions about the baby first. It's a reflex. It confirms everything Taemin thinks about her. She's real, and that makes his own decision seem even more vile, but he can't turn back now. Miyun is fine, he replies. And you didn't do anything. Your work was satisfactory. Then, why? For the first time, a faint, almost imperceptible tremor can be heard in her voice. Not fear, more like confusion, pain. Taemin looks away. He looks at the table. He can't look at her now. Reasons don't matter. The decision has been made. It's final. He opens the top drawer of his desk. He takes out a large, thick envelope made of brown paper. The envelope is unsealed. Taemin places it on the desk and slides it toward her. Here is your salary for the current month. Also included is compensation for the sudden termination of our agreement. The amount is 3 times the agreed-upon monthly salary. I consider this more than fair. Leilani looks at the envelope as if it were something poisonous. She doesn't extend her hand. Mr. Choi, I don't need extra money. I need an explanation. How can I leave without understanding what happened? How can I just leave Miyun? At the sound of his daughter's name, Taemin cringes inwardly, but his face betrays nothing. You will leave her right now. You will gather your personal belongings, which are here, and leave the apartment. You have 1 hour to do so. You will no longer be here when Miyun wakes up. I will explain the situation to her myself. Now he looks at her. His gaze is icy, brooking no argument. This is an order, Leilani, not a request. Take the envelope, pack your things, and go. Leilani freezes. She looks from him to the envelope. Her chest heaves. She tries to control her breathing, her emotions. He sees her fists clenched in her lap, her jaw tense. And at that moment, something he had so feared and so unconsciously sought before appeared in her eyes. Not reproach, not anger, but deep, bottomless sadness. Disappointment, not in him as an employer, but in him as a person. She rises slowly from her chair. Her movements are no longer so fluid. They are mechanical. She takes the envelope from the table. She doesn't look at it. She just takes it. The envelope is heavy, stuffed with bills. I want to say goodbye to Miyun, she says dully. No, he answers without hesitation. It will only make things worse for her. A clean break is better. You will leave quietly. Now. She looks at him, and in that last glance she puts everything, all the warmth she brought to this house, all the care for his daughter, and all the pain from his cruelty. That look burns right through him. Then she simply nods, briefly, abruptly. She turns and leaves the office. She doesn't say goodbye. She doesn't say anything. Taemin doesn't follow her. He stays in the office, sitting at his desk and listening. His hearing is incredibly sharp. He hears her footsteps in the hallway. He hears her open the door to Miyun's room. He jumps up. He told her not to say goodbye. He goes to the door to intervene, but stops. He hears not voices, but a quiet rustling. She doesn't wake the girl. He comes closer and sees through the crack in the door. Leilani is kneeling by the bed. Miyun is asleep, facing her. Leilani doesn't touch her, doesn't kiss her. She simply looks at her sleeping face, bathed in the light of the nightlight. It hurts her own face to look at it. She runs her hand through the air above Miyun's head, without touching her hair. A farewell gesture. Then she stands up, quickly wipes her cheek with the back of her hand. She leaves the room, closing the door silently. Taemin jumps back into the shadows of the office. He watches her walk into the hallway. Her practical bag lies there. She opens the narrow cabinet where she kept her work clothes, an extra sweater, a few books for studying with Miyun, a couple of toys she brought from home. She quickly, methodically stuffs everything into the bag. She takes off her slippers, places them carefully on the shelf, puts on her shoes, her coat. She looks collected, but her movements lack their former grace. They are angular, abrupt. She buttons her coat, adjusts her bag on her shoulder. She stands in the middle of the hallway for a second, staring into space. Then her gaze falls on the refrigerator, on that very drawing with the 3 figures. She approaches him. She takes off the apple magnet. She puts it in her coat pocket. She leaves the drawing itself hanging. She has no right to take it away. This is Miyun's memory. Then she turns to the front door. Her hand reaches for the lock, and at that moment, a thin, frightened voice is heard from the depths of the apartment. Leilani? Miyun stands at the end of the hallway. She's in her pajamas, barefoot. Her hair is tousled from sleep. Her face is rumpled and sleepy, but her eyes are wide open with anxiety. She sensed something was wrong, or heard a rustling sound. Leilani freezes. Her back tenses. She turns slowly, and Taemin sees the real, uncontrollable pain finally appear on her face. She tries to smile, but it comes out as a grimace. Sweetheart, why aren't you sleeping? Where are you going? Miyun doesn't answer the question. She already understands everything on some childish, instinctive level. She moves closer. Her lower lip begins to tremble. I need to go, baby, Leilani says. Her voice breaks on the last word. No! It's not a scream, but a wail of despair. Miyun rushes to her and wraps her arms around her legs. Don't go, please! Leilani leans down. She can't help but hug her now. She presses the girl to her. She closes her eyes. Taemin sees her shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs, but she doesn't cry out loud. You have to be strong, my good girl, she whispers into her hair. You have to listen to your daddy. You're the smartest, kindest, most beautiful girl in the world. Remember our song? You can always sing it to yourself. I will always remember you. She pulls Miyun away from her, holds her by the shoulders, looks straight into her tear-filled eyes. Goodbye, Miyun. Then she quickly kisses her forehead, stands, opens the door, and walks out without looking back. The door closes behind her with a quiet but final click. Miyun stands in the middle of the hallway, staring at the closed door. At first, she just stares. Then a quiet sob escapes her throat. Then another. She falls to her knees and begins to sob, loudly, inconsolably. Her small body shakes with spasms of grief. Taemin stands in the shadows of the hallway. He clenches his fists so tightly that his nails dig into his palms. Every tear his daughter sheds falls on him like a hot drop of metal. He should approach her. He should console her. But his feet are rooted to the floor. He did it. He caused these tears. And now he has no right to approach her and pretend he can stop them. He turns away, goes into his office, closes the door, sits at the desk, rests his head on his folded hands. He sits like that until the sobbing outside subsides, until there is complete, deathly silence. An hour passes, then 2. Taemin leaves the office. There's no one in the hallway. Miyun must have gone to her room and locked the door. The drawing on the refrigerator is still there, a bright, reproachful stain. He goes into the kitchen, The coffee is unbrewed, the table is empty. No sign of breakfast. He turns on the coffee machine himself. The sound seems unnaturally loud in this silence. He drinks coffee, standing by the window. The city view no longer feels like a possession. It seems like just a picture, flat and lifeless. Miyun's room is locked from the inside. He doesn't knock. He knows he has to give her time. All of Leilani's things are gone. The hallway closet is empty. The slippers stand in a neat pair, as if they've never been worn. He goes to the trash can under the sink. The lights are still there, crumpled. He pulls them out. They're tangled. He tries to untangle the wires, but they resist. He tosses them back. The house is perfectly clean again. Not a speck of dust, not a single sound, not a trace of someone else's presence. Everything is as he wanted. Order is restored. But this purity now weighs on him. This silence rings in his ears. Before, silence was his ally. Now, it's a witness. It bears witness to what he's just done. It underscores the emptiness he's created. He returns to his office. He sits down. A notepad lies on the desk in front of him. He needs to find a new nanny, write a new ad, state strict requirements, age from 50, strict approach, no unnecessary emotions, just instructions. He picks up a pen, but he can't write a word. His gaze stubbornly returns to the door, to where Leilani stood just a couple of hours ago, where he gave his senseless, cruel order. He throws the pen. It bounces off the table and falls to the floor. He doesn't pick it up. He just sits and listens to the silence. It's louder than any child's laughter, heavier than any reproach. It fills the house, the room, him. It's the silence after an explosion, after something important has been deliberately, consciously destroyed. And somewhere behind the wall, in her room, his daughter suffers silently. And he, the creator of this silence and this pain, cannot take a single step to make things right. Because that would mean admitting his mistake. And he doesn't make mistakes. He simply makes decisions, even if those decisions break his child's heart and leave him in the icy, lifeless void that now calls his home. The new nanny arrives in 3 days. The agency sent her quickly. Her name is Kim Hye-ju. She's 62 years old. She's short and very straight. Her hair is pulled back into a tight gray bun. She wears thin framed glasses and a formal gray suit. She looks like an accountant or an archivist. Taemin meets her in his office. He hands her the same list of rules. She reads it carefully, slowly, nodding along. Her face expresses nothing but concentration. Everything is crystal clear, Mr. Che, she says, using the Korean pronunciation of his last name. Her voice is dry, without any emotional undertones. The schedule, the meals, the activities. I will follow the instructions. Nothing extra. Taemin feels a strange sense of relief. This is what he needs. A mechanism. Reliable, predictable. You have to be careful with your daughter, he says, choosing his words carefully. She's been through a change of staff. She can be withdrawn. Children adapt, Ms. Kim counters. The key is clear structure and consistency. Emotions only hinder the process. She's perfect. Absolutely perfect. When can you start? Right now, she replies, adjusting her glasses. Miss Kim gets to work immediately. She doesn't introduce herself to Miyun as a person. She takes inventory. She inspects the girl's room, the kitchen, the bathroom. She makes notes in a small notebook. She speaks to Miyun clearly, politely, but without intonation, like a robot guide. Good morning, Miyun. My name is Kim Hye-ju. I'm your new nanny. It's 8 o'clock, 5 minutes past 8. Breakfast will be served in 20 minutes. Please get dressed and make your bed. Miyun looks at her with wide, frightened eyes. She doesn't answer. She simply follows her instructions silently. Taemin watches from the sidelines. Everything is going according to plan. Order, discipline. No pancakes, no dancing, no singing. Ms. Kim doesn't try to cheer up the child. She doesn't smile unnecessarily. She provides care, clean clothes, timely meals, and timely walks. She reads books in a calm, monotone voice. She doesn't comment on the drawings. She simply puts them away in a folder, as instructed. Storage creative works in date order. The house functions again like a silent, perfect machine. And Taemin should be happy. But he isn't. He walks around the apartment and feels as if the air has become thicker, as if the walls have grown closer. Miyun closes up, completely. She communicates with Miss Kim in monosyllables. Yes. No. Thank you. She does everything she's told, but she does it like a little automaton. Her eyes, which used to sparkle and then wrinkle thoughtfully when Leilani was around, now always stare off into the distance or at the floor. But the worst thing for Taemin is her silence with him. She used to be afraid of him, but still said something sometimes. Now, nothing. He comes in the evening. She's sitting in the living room, looking at a picture book. Miss Kim, sitting next to her, is knitting something gray. Hello, Miyun, says Taemin. She looks up at him. Her gaze is empty. She simply stares at him as if he were an object. Then she looks back at the book. Not a word, not a nod. He tries at lunch. He sits down with her at the table. Miss Kim stands to the side, watching. How was your day? He asks. Miyun silently picks at her soup with her spoon. Miyun, your father is asking for you, Miss Kim says evenly. Good, Miyun breathes out, not even looking at him. What did you do? Walked. Drawn. And that's it. A wall. A high, blank wall of childish silence. He buys her an expensive doll, the kind he thinks every girl dreams of. He brings it in the evening, places it next to her on the sofa. This is for you. She looks at the doll, then at him. There is no delight in her eyes, not even interest. There is only a question. Why? But she doesn't ask it out loud. She simply takes the doll, puts it on the shelf in her room next to her other toys, and doesn't touch it again. Her silence isn't silence. It's a scream, a silent, desperate scream that sounds louder than any cry. It fills the entire house. It haunts Taemin. At work, while driving, in the office. He hears this silence, even in complete silence. He understands that he has lost her. Not physically. She is here. She eats, sleeps, breathes. But the girl who laughed in the kitchen, who gave him crooked bracelets, she is no longer there. He buried her himself when he kicked Leilani out. A week passes. One night, Taemin wakes up to a sound. At first, he doesn't understand what it is. A quiet, intermittent sound. Crying. He gets up. He goes out into the hallway. The sound comes from Miyun's room. It's not just sleep sobbing. It's full-blown sobbing, full of fear and anguish. He approaches the door. It is ajar. He peers inside. Miyun is tossing and turning on her bed. Her eyes are closed, but her eyeballs are darting beneath her lids. She's clutching the pillow. Her face is wet with tears. Don't go. Please, don't go, she mumbles sleepily. Then her voice grows louder, more desperate. Leilani! Leilani! Come back! The name sounds like a knife in the silence of the room. It cuts the air. Miyun sobs, chokes. I'm scared! Sing to me! Sing our song! Taemin stands at the threshold. His body is icy. He sees the real, primal pain of his daughter, the pain that cannot be hidden by silence, the pain that bursts forth when the control of consciousness weakens. Miss Kim appears to be asleep in her servants' quarters, or pretending not to hear. She doesn't appear. Her instructions probably don't cover nightmares. Or they do, but they instruct her to not indulge in excessive emotions. Taemin has to do something. He can't just stand there and watch. He steps inside. He doesn't wake her at night. He sits on the edge of the bed and simply places his hand on her head. He doesn't stroke her. He just holds her. After a while, the sobs subside. She falls into a deeper, but still restless sleep. He sits next to her until almost dawn. Then he leaves. In the morning, he cancels all his meetings. He tells Miss Kim she has the day off. She nods without question and goes home. Taemin makes breakfast himself. Simple porridge. He knocks on Miyun's door. Can I come in? Silence answers. He opens the door. Miyun is already dressed. She's sitting on the bed, looking out the window. Her face shows traces of yesterday's tears and fatigue. I made breakfast, he says hesitantly. She silently gets up and goes to the kitchen. She sits at the table. She eats porridge with small, slow spoons. Without looking up, Taemin sits down across from her. He drinks coffee and looks at her. It's his daughter, a 5-year-old girl, and she looks broken, lost. Miyun, he begins. His voice is hoarse. You had a bad dream last night. She pauses, spoon halfway to her mouth, then slowly lowers it. She looks at her plate. I dreamed I was alone, she says very quietly. And you were far away. And Leilani wasn't there either. Taemin swallows. A lump forms in his throat. You know, Leilani couldn't stay. She had another job. He hates himself for this lie, but he can't tell the truth. She didn't want to leave, Miyun whispers. I know. She loved me, and I loved her. These simple words hit Taemin straight in the heart. She loved me. He never thought about it. He thought about professional affection, about the appearance of warmth. But for a child, everything was simpler and more real. She was loved, and she loved back, and that love was taken from her. Daddy! Miyun looks up at him. Tears well up in her eyes. But she's not crying. She's just looking. I'm so sad. Every day. Even when I'm not sad, I still feel sad inside. And nothing helps. Not a doll, Not a book? Taemin doesn't know what to say. Everything will be fine would sound like a joke. I'll help, but he doesn't know how. He created this pain, and he has no cure for it. He reaches across the table, places his hand on top of her small one. She doesn't pull away, but she doesn't respond to his touch either. Her hand is cold. They sit like that in silence. Then Miyun takes a deep breath, as if gathering her strength for something important. Dad, do you remember how Leilani sang to me before bed? Taemin freezes. Blood pounds in his temples. I remember, he manages to say. She sang about a white flower. Such a quiet, beautiful song. She always sang it when I was sad or scared, and then it made me feel better. Miyun looks at him, and tears finally overflow her eyes and roll down her cheeks. But she speaks through them, calmly, as if imparting the most important secret in the world. I once asked her how she knew such a beautiful song. She said, Taemin stops breathing. He looks at his daughter, and the world around him blurs. Only her voice remains. She said she'd been searching for a very long time for a special lullaby, for a special girl. She asked her friends. She searched through old books, and then an elderly Korean singer. She taught her this song. The woman said it was a very old Korean lullaby, about a white flower that isn't afraid of winter, about how even in the darkness there is light. Miyun wipes her cheek with the back of her hand. Leilani, she said, that this song is special, because your mother sang it like that. When you were little, she recognized it. She recognized it especially for me, so that I would have a song from my grandmother, like you once had. She falls silent. Her shoulders shake. And now the song is gone. And Leilani is gone. And I miss that song so much, Dad. I miss it so much that everything inside me hurts. The daughter's last sentence hangs in the air. She said that's how your mother sang. All the pieces of the puzzle in Taemin's head crashed into place. This wasn't a coincidence. She hadn't just found some sweet song. She'd searched for it. She'd searched for his childhood lullaby, his mother's lullaby. She'd spent time, effort, to find a connection between his lost past and his daughter's present. To give Miyun what he couldn't give her himself, not just comfort, a legacy, a piece of his own soul, buried by himself. She didn't do it according to instructions, not for money. She did it because she loved his daughter, truly, and perhaps, in some strange way, she was trying to reach out to him, to give him back something he'd lost. And he fired her, coldly, cruelly, without reason. He threw her away like an unwanted object. He threw away the warmth, the care, the love she brought to his home. He threw away the connection with his own mother that woman had extended to his daughter, like a bridge. He looks at the crying woman Miyun sees in her more than just a child missing her nanny. He sees a girl yearning for love, for warmth, for the song that connected her to her father, even if he didn't know it. He sees in her pain a reflection of his own, years of pain, buried deep within, and the dam he spent 37 years building, a dam of ice, steel, rules, and self-control, cracks. Then another. Then it collapses completely. At first, he just blinks. Quickly, quickly. Then his chin starts to tremble. He looks away from his daughter, stares at the wall. He tries to control himself, clench his jaw, take a deep breath, but it's too late. The first tear escapes his eye and rolls down his cheek. It's hot, unexpected. Then a second. He turns away from the table, raising his hand to cover his face. But it's useless. The tears flow on their own, quiet, soundless, but unstoppable. They flow for everything, for the cold childhood after his mother left, for the loneliness he chose, for the prison he built, for every minute he didn't laugh, dance, or sing, for the smile of the daughter he rejected, for the bracelet he called useless, for the woman who brought light into his home, and he kicked her out into the night. He's not sobbing. He's simply sitting, turned away, crying. His shoulders shake slightly. It's a breakthrough, complete, absolute. Everything has become clear. His entire system has collapsed in an instant, shattered by one simple phrase from a 5-year-old girl. He was wrong, not just mistaken. He was cruel, blind, and stupid. He destroyed the most precious thing he had for the sake of the phantom of control. Miyun sees his tears. She freezes. Her own tears stop in amazement. She had never seen her father cry. She didn't think he could cry at all. She looks at him silently, at his tense back, at his hand covering his eyes. And something changes in her own heart. Fear and resentment recede slightly, giving way to another feeling, bewildered pity. He is suffering too. He is in pain too. She quietly gets up from the table. She approaches him. She slowly, carefully places her small hand on his back. She simply places it and holds it. His daughter's touch is the last straw. Taman turns around. His face is wet, his eyes red. He no longer tries to hide it. He looks at her, and there's no longer any stone in his gaze. There's only pain, remorse, and endless fatigue. "I'm sorry, Miyun," he croaks. His voice is broken. "I'm sorry. I messed everything up." He doesn't say this as an all-powerful father giving orders. He says it as a broken man begging for mercy from the one he's hurt the most. And at that moment, in a quiet kitchen bathed in morning light, it's not just one person's emotional dam that collapses. An entire world collapses, a world built on fear and control. And only now, through the tears, does something new begin to emerge from the rubble, fragile, uncertain, but alive.